Barbados, I know a lot. Barbados, well, the water wasn't as clear as it was. And Okinawa's the clearest I've ever been. Except those sea urchins and stuff, man. You could not put your feet down.
No, I kicked one of them.
With God, they
Right
hurt.
in the shin.
Most of the diving around here is just feeling around.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of times we were looking for something, looking for a car or a body or something. And so, but it's just feeling.
Yeah, the visibility couldn't be much in there. Yeah.
Once in a while, you get in a real nice rock quarry that has clear.
Okay. That'd be cool.
There's sea turtles like crazy. There's one like as big as this table, went over top about 3 foot. And the guy, I think he told me he was sleeping, is what he was trying to tell me. I was just didn't want to get bit by the damn thing. I think it's huge. Here's when we get started.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking you to watch over this meeting of our Board of Commissioners and be with all our county employees as they go about their duties throughout this week. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. So Jim is not able to be here this morning. He is available by phone if we need him for something. We have the canvas scheduled to start at 9:30. So when we get to that point, we'll have to have you guys appoint a third canvasser. And I've talked to Darren about doing that already, and he's willing to do it. So I think for this point, then we want to just get started with our normal business until we get to 9:30 and then switch over to canvassing.
Yeah, I reviewed last week's minutes. Make a motion that we pass them as written.
I'll second. Motion's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Here's the claims, and then here are the payroll sheets.
Does this claim include the last pay request?
It does not, but I have it here with me and approved for next.
Make a motion, we pay the bills in the amount of $424,958.60. That's my motion.
I'll second. Motion been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we do have a new claims or new pay request from River City. This is application number 23 in the amount of $55,313.13.
This is the detailed support documents if you want to see them. Basically wrapping up a lot of loose ends.
Like they're 99.65% total. Yep, totally done. That's what they're.
Yep.
We need a motion on this.
Yeah, you need a motion to approve that pay request number 23, is it?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the number 23 pay request for River City Construction.
You signed the one David gave you there, I guess.
This one?
Yeah.
And the amount that's for $55,313.13.
I'll second it.
Where does it sign, David, or does it?
I don't
I
think
guess
we've
it
been
does.
signing that one. So we'll include that in next week's claims. Just a couple other things to start. We got the sheriff's report for the week.
Hey Gary, on that, are they providing all like final lien waivers from all suppliers? They are.
Yep.
In fact, he had a lengthy email to some of the subs and sub-subs this week, reminding them that they're not going to get paid until they can get them in. So.
Sheriff's report, he's showing 23 prisoners in-house and none farmed out.
And Gary, do you, I kind of talked to the sheriff this weekend a little bit, and he said that we're all moved over there. Everything's going good.
Yep, appears to be, yeah. I mean, I haven't talked to him the last couple of days, but
He sounded excited when I was on the phone with him, so.
Yep.
I know he's been putting a lot of time and effort, so.
they seem to be rolling smoothly.
And the last thing I just gave you there is the park report for July.
I'll read the sheriff's report while we're waiting. Prisoners, 23 prisoners, 9 released last week. Total prisoners in, 23, farmed out, 0, 911 calls, 151. Total calls for service, 385. Total service papers served, 13. New cases open, 12. Old cases closed, 10. Vehicle crashes, 9. Bailiffs activity, 67. Livestock out, 13.
I don't think the sheriff would mind me telling you that we have a contract to review from Wyandotte County on housing some prisoners. Hadn't been signed yet, but we've reviewed it. And
Is River City still on site doing miscellaneous stuff, helping get bugs and stuff?
they're not here every day now, but they're
They're still on board. I mean,
they're still. We've got. They did a handover, but they're still available when we need them for something.
what about the courts? Are they moved over there completely yet?
Last I talked to them, which was Friday, they still were doing court over here, but everything else had moved over here. I think this week is when they're going to start doing court over here, but I don't know that for absolute certain.
So the park report for July, the total income was $33,550.04. Total expenditures, $32,006.98.
David, you got anything else?
I guess just something I could bring up. I don't need action yet today, but I do have the voting delegate forms for the annual meetings for K-Camp and K-Work. I don't have the one from KAC yet, so if you want to just wait and do that all at once, when I get KACs, we can appoint delegates for that meeting. It will be October 17th through the 19th is the KAC meeting this year.
Where at?
It's in Overland Park at the Sheridan. The K-Camp and K-Work annual meetings are on the first evening of that. It'd be the 17th on the Monday, but you guys want to think about that, and when I get the KAC forms in, then we'll need motions to appoint voting delegates for all those.
You need 2, a primary and an alternate?
K-Camp wants a primary and an alternate. I believe K-Work does. KAC typically wants 2 alternates.
You want us to do it right now?
It doesn't matter whenever you want to. Like I say, I don't have the KAC forms yet, so I don't have anything to fill out for them.
Okay.
We can just hang on to it until I get the KAC forms
Okay.
in.
All right. Gary, you got anything right off the bat you need to get done?
Nope.
All right, Randy.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Weekly run report, we had 13 incidents from last week. That brings your total up to 300 for the year. Couple other things. Last week I was asked about the I went through the information from David. Only thing that we could find in some minutes is pretty much the board has not changed since 2011 as far as the member. Board members are Don Poppett, Russell Beth, Eddie Anderson,
You still here?
Mike Urban, Donnie Reinerson, Jeff Wisdom, and Rodney Finn. that was.
Can we get a list of those or just give them a copy?
What were you asked about it?
Uh,
Oh, you
I
did
ask
that.
about it because we need to figure out who's on the boards, all these boards, so when the new commissioner comes on.
Do they like rotate chair and vice chair and stuff like that? How does that work? Or I guess I,
No, I think Don-
Each year, I think, or,
It looks like they go on a 3-year rotation, but not when it's been done.
well, the positions are on a 3-year term, and they're staggered as to when they start. But I was thinking the officers, the bylaws lay out, I think, that the officers are elected annually, I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm not finding anything in minutes.
So that's one of the reasons too.
Right.
I want to get it all squared away and get it right for
Right.
the first time in a long time.
we'll get some young people on it, younger people.
Younger, yeah. I like younger people. I'm confused.
I'll give you next week, I'll give you a list. Next week's meeting, I have some prior appointments, so if it's all right, I will email all this stuff in next week
Sure.
for that. On the fire side, doing some cleaning in the stations and around the office. We have a lot of surplus equipment. Some of it is firefighter structural gear. It's over 10 years old, cannot be used anymore, and so
So what do you do with it?
we're gonna throw it away. That's where it needs to go.
So you're going to make a report of it though.
Right, and I talked to David, and he needs to do a resolution before we start surplusing this equipment out. Some equipment may be able to be used for other departments. We have a surplus of office equipment and stuff like that. So,
Right.
just asking permission to start going through that and
Sure.
surplusing some of it out. And David said he'd.
And surplus doesn't mean giving it to your local firefighters, right?
Right, this is
You're actually going to get rid of it.
right. This stuff's going to landfill. We'll probably cut it or something so it can't be used
Okay.
again. But like I said, some of our equipment we're going to be able to. If other departments within the county wants to use it, we can surplus
Sure.
it out that way. Fold
That's good.
stuff like that. So
That's the way it should be.
just like I said, just need permission for David to do a
Yeah,
resolution
I don't have a
before we start
problem.
doing that.
I don't know if it's with it. Does that need a motion or anything?
No.
Not at this point, not till the resolution is before
I'm
you.
good with it.
The other thing that I've found going through some paperwork, looking on stuff, is our auto aid and mutual aid agreements with other cities in the county they have all expired. And so I want to start kind of working through some of those. Some of those need to be addressed. Last time they were done was 2008. They've been expired since 2018. We have some issues that we need to look at on some of those aid agreements. I have three. I have Joshua Marshall and Jimmy Watts have both applied, and I'd like permission to hire them as probationary firefighters for Station 920. That will bring us up to
What station is that? So everybody will know.
Pleasanton.
Okay. So what's that number?
That'll bring us up to 13 out of 22 spots.
Okay.
Just approved a couple probably 3 weeks ago, and they never did show up. So we should have more, but we
Right.
lost out on those. Both those individuals have been on the department prior, left the department, and now are wanting to come back. So just permission to hire both them as probationary
You know
firefighters.
either.
I know both of them, yeah.
Go ahead.
Who were they, Randy? I missed it.
Joshua Marshall and Jimmy Watts.
I'll make a motion that we hire Josh Marshall and Jimmy Watts to the fire department in the probationary period
Second.
for 920. Motion been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have one for Station 910, which is Mound City. Farrah Bogan that has applied and spoke to the captain. Captain hasn't, no problems with it.
I'll make that motion that we hire her on a probationary period.
That puts us at 10 out of 15 on that station.
I'll second it.
That's a considerable improvement in Mount City's number.
Hey, keep going.
Motion been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
Last thing is on the emergency preparedness side. Linda, the emergency preparedness coordinator, recently received her emergency management certification, manager certification, and I'm asking for a raise for her because of that certification. I've talked to David, and basically on that program, she's still a little low, but it would take her from 16,8,277 to 17,8,866.
We looked at that on the current scale, and she's actually been a range below where the emergency management assistant should be. But now with that certification, that looks like where she needs to move up to. That'd be a 10E. And with her years of experience, we thought that would be a good spot to bring her in on that range.
Okay.
And she's doing a wonderful job for me. I've pushed some more EM stuff her way and helping out and teach her some things. So she's doing a good job. So
So I'll make that motion. We increase the pay based on her new certifications to 10E.
And I'll second that. Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
And we want to make that effective when, we're in the middle of a pay period right now, so probably we'd either want to back up to last week or go to next week to
Next week.
pay period.
Yeah.
So is she going to continue training and just keeps moving up? Or how is that?
yeah,
I got a question for you. I was approached again, and Rick, you probably know about this. The city of Prescott is asking about that sign again, wanting to put it in the fire yard there at Prescott. So I didn't know, I wanted to see what everybody's thoughts on that were. They want to put, I told them to give us a design, come and talk to us, but they've mentioned it a few different times. They want to put a welcome, just a basic welcome to Prescott sign. They thought they were going to have to maybe ask us to take the tree down, but I don't think they're going to. The tree's not in the way, and I think I mentioned that to him too, but just something to think about what they want to do. Gary, how would that, I mean,
I didn't understand everything you said, Danny. I
They're-
apologize.
sorry. The city of Prescott has been wanting to put a welcome to Prescott sign in the fire yard there at Prescott.
I'd say, like you said, if they show the plan for where it's gonna go, if there's no, if it's, if it doesn't violate any, of the state regulations, what's, the state has some regulations about signs on their right of way. But, I don't think they enforce those in the cities. So as long as that's not a problem, I don't see any problem with it.
I think, and I could be wrong and it could be talking out of place, but I thought they said something about maybe just wanting to do like a little basic sign with maybe a flagpole or something, but I can't remember. I told them to get us a design and get it to us and we'll.
Yeah.
They don't have to bring it in, just send it to us, right? Yeah.
So I'll let Kevin know that then, so.
I don't think there's any opposition. I don't think Jim was, I think he knew about it. I think he did, but I don't think there's any problem with it.
no.
You can call him and talk to him after the meeting.
Yeah, I had one councilman ask me about it. I was like,
Oh, they did.
depends what it looks like and get you guys' permission.
Yeah. Sure.
Any other questions or anything for me?
Everything going good at all your other departments? I mean,
Yeah,
everything going good?
things are going good. So,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, I just got an email from Missy a few minutes ago. She's got 2 nurses out sick today, so she's not gonna make it over. She said she would email numbers to me, but I don't have any numbers yet.
Dalen, you ready?
Good morning, Galen Anderson with American Medical Response. In the last 7 days, the ambulances have transported 19 patients out. And so far, for month to date in August, we've transported 37 patients. For open positions, as you recall, we had 1 full-time EMT opening and 2 full-time paramedic openings. We hired a full-time EMT and they're in their new hire academy up at the Kansas City Metro office where we do those classes starting today. So she'll be finishing that up this week and then we'll come down here for the field portion of orientation. So that'll fill that EMT position. And then we've extended 2 job offers to full-time paramedics that we interviewed last week. One of them came down and did a ride along here, which is always good. And then you're familiar with what you're applying to. And that one accepted the job offer. So that fills one of the 2 positions. And the other one we should hear back from today if he's accepting or not. So if they both accept, we'll be fully staffed. And that'll be great. So that's where I was staffing this week. The Kansas EMS Association had their annual conference in Mulvane, Kansas, just south Wichita. And we were there. It was a good opportunity to meet people from EMS across the state and do some recruiting for the EMTs and paramedics that attend that. And that EMS Association, they do annual awards for like EMT of the year, paramedic of the year, administrator of the year, those kinds of things. And it's a formal process where anyone that's a member of the association can nominate somebody, and then it goes out to a committee outside of that organization that reviews the nomination data and does the selection process. So it's not like an internal selection process. So we had Jeff Boyd as from this AMR operation was one of the nominations, and he was selected as the finalist for the paramedic of the year for that organization. So that's pretty awesome. And then Mary Glover, who's our facility supervisor and one of the administrative positions in the Kansas City office that does that role for this operation, was also nominated and selected as a finalist. So we had two AMR folks that were selected this year. So that was
Good.
great to see. Good representation for AMR Linn County. So, and I think that's all I have.
And I guess we'll have our Christmas party this year. Would you please invite them?
You bet.
Yeah.
Do you mean all the ambulance staff?
Mhm.
Yeah, you bet.
Especially the ones that won the awards.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks.
Do you guys have a thing like if somebody's getting ready to graduate high school and they want to do the entry level into your guys' program, do you guys provide schooling or how's that work? Do you guys do anything like that?
So there's a program, AMR is a nationwide organization. There's a program that some operations have done. We haven't done one in Linn County, but there's an option to kind of replicate what's been done in other operations. So
With the new program over in Pleasanton, I don't know if they're offering EMT or
I
not.
think they are. You guys working with that at all? or-
Yeah, have you
high school?
addressed that?
No.
Because all three high schools will be can participate in that program.
Oh, cool.
It's
So-
in that, it's in the old Cox building there. They started a trade school, and I believe they said they're gonna have EMT
Oh, cool.
training.
I don't know if Johnson County or Pittsburgh or who's teaching those, Fort Scott or who's teaching the EMT class, but it'd be
Yeah. I'll
maybe
get in touch with.
homegrown right there.
Right. That's good to know. Thank you. We'll get in touch with somebody, and
Isn't that right, Jackie? Didn't they have EMT?
that's great.
I don't have anything else for you guys.
Me neither.
All right.
Thank
Have
you.
a good
Have a
week.
good week.
All right, so we got a little over 5 minutes till we're supposed to start the canvas. If we've got anything else quick we can take care of.
Garrett, you got anything else?
Nope.
We're gonna start here and go over there.
Yeah, we'll start here. So just in preparation for that, if you guys are okay with Darren sitting in as the third, you could go ahead and make a motion to appoint him as the third.
What's his last name?
Wilson.
Make a motion, we appoint Darren Wilson as the third canvasser for Linn County for the vote process today, election.
I'll second that. Motion been moved, second, all in favor?
Aye.
So do we need to adjourn?
Well, I'll have a motion for you to do that, but I don't think we want to do that before 9:30 because that was the published time of canvas, so.
You want to set the table? Are you bringing the big sheets of paper out?
I've got some stuff here.
We can get ready for it.
Yeah.
Am I involved?
No.
Is there anything else? Anything else?
You just got appointed there. We're waiting until 9:30 to start. I think that's our published time. So it's in that box. It's slow. I got an extra 5 minutes. It is. No, we've got some more stuff scheduled after the canvas. I know Sean's got some things, and Jessica's gonna go over the comprehensive plan. And then Morgan and I need an executive session for personnel later too. Okay. I don't know why we would on stuff I'm doing. Yes, I could go ahead and just talk a little about what's going on with the election before we get into the actual canvas. Friday at 5 o'clock was the deadline for candidates or interested parties to file for a recount. We were kind of expecting a recount on the state treasurer race because it was so close. Karen did file for a recount, but she did not file for a statewide recount. She did selected counties, and Linn County was not one of them, so we do not have to recount that race. However, an individual filed for a statewide recount on the constitutional amendment. That race is nowhere close. I'm not really positive what the point of filing for a recount on that one was, but that has to be done after the county canvass. So for us, it could not start until after our meeting today. Some counties canvassed last week, but the latest I got from the Secretary of State's office this morning was we are not to start counting until we get a go-ahead from their office. And that's not just us, all counties. And that he would have an update later today on where we stand on everything. So as far as we know, we are going to start recounting that race tomorrow. Morgan's got boards lined up to come in and do that for us. On that one, I am not allowed to be on a recount board. Technically, people in my office could be on it, but we'd rather not do it that way. We'd rather have other people we bring in. So we're lining up 2 boards to come in, and we expect it to take all day long with 2 boards working to get that, because they're going to have to hand count every ballot in the county to verify those results. So the recount has to be done by Wednesday at 5 o'clock. And then we have to have an additional canvass of those results this week. So we're going to need to pick out a time that you guys can come in Thursday or Friday to canvass those results. I did ask Jim about that this morning if he had a preference, and he said he could make it work either day. So I guess, hopefully Jim's feeling better by then and can make it. But then Rick and Danny, do you have a preference?
Friday.
Which day?
That'll work for me. I mean, yeah, that's.
So I would just as soon get that done fairly early in the morning if possible. So 8 to 8:30, somewhere in that range, if that works for you guys.
Works for me.
So I think probably what would be appropriate on that at the moment would be a motion to schedule a special meeting of the Board of Canvassers. And do you want to go with 8 o'clock Friday? Is that?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we have a special meeting Friday at 0800.
That's this Friday, the 19th.
Yes.
I'll second. Motion been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and I don't know if Jim's listening right now or not, but I will make sure and let him know where we're at on that so he can be available. And Jackie, are you okay with this motion being your notice on that? If something happens today from the Secretary of State and they decide that we don't have to do this recount, then there would not be any need to have that meeting. So I would, if it's okay with you guys, I would just notify you and the newspaper and let people know that we're canceling that special meeting. But at this point, we've got to be prepared to do that, to canvass those results. All right, so I have 9:30 on my watch now, so if you guys are ready, the first thing I need is a motion to recess from the Board of Commission meeting and reconvene as the Board of Canvassers.
That's my motion.
I'll second. Motion been moved, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so then, couple of things we need to go through. I put the sheet out there that's the election abstract. We have reviewed the numbers on that in the office. We're satisfied that all the numbers are on there. But specifically, we need to look at races that were part of our audit. And I need to have you guys verify that we have those audit races on there. So I have highlighted the cells on that sheet that were subject to the audit. And I believe you probably have the
Top sheet.
Democratic sheet on top there. That one was probably our easiest audit. This was the United States Senate on the Democratic ticket. And the results from our audit board on that were Mike Andra 4, Paul Buskirk 3, Mark Holland 6, Robert Klingenberg 0, Michael Sotart 0, and Patrick Wisner 2. So I believe like on the Wisner, one of those was an advance and one was election day. So there would be 1 and 1 in those columns. Do you agree that those are on the abstract with those numbers?
Yeah.
All right. Then we have some other races. We have some on the Republican abstract for Secretary of State in North Potosi. And have you got, I think Rick's probably got that sheet. So there should be some highlighted cells there and a North Potosi column on the Secretary of State race. And that one, it should read Mike Brown 112, Scott Schwab 80. And again, those could be combinations of election day and advance, so there might be more than one number. Have you guys spotted those?
What, say that again?
Secretary of State, North Potosi. So, okay, Secretary of State, North Potosi. So I have 112 for Mike Brown.
Okay.
Which would be the 91 and 21. And I have 80 for Scott Schwab, which would be that 70 and the 10. The next race I have is the House of Representatives for Kansas in Liberty Township. There was only one candidate in that race. It was Fred Gardner. And I have him with 200 votes. So that would be right here. Then I have the County Commissioner, District 1, North Lincoln. On that one, there's two sets of numbers because Linn Valley is a part of North Lincoln. And so it gets included in this. We may need to get a calculator out if you want to add those up, but I have Rosemary Long with 166. So that would be 75 and 8 and 75 and 8. So looking at that, 75 times 2 would be 150 plus 16. With those two 8s would be 166. And then for Jason Hightower, I have 271. I don't know if I want to try to do that in my head or not, but those four numbers should add up to 271. Are you guys satisfied with that result?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, then I have the state treasurer race, and I have multiple entries on that. And that one we were required to audit 2 precincts because the race was so close. So the first one I have is Centerville precinct. I have Stephen Johnson with 23, and I have Karen Tyson with 108. So that would be right here. And then North Lincoln was the other one chosen on that. So again, I've got 4 numbers there to add up. I have Stephen Johnson with 98. And I have Karen Tyson with 359. All right, so if you guys are satisfied with that, the other thing we have is the constitutional amendment, which is on another sheet, unaffiliated, and that's probably the bottom of the stack that Rick's got there.
Yep. It is. I just saw it.
So I've got 2 precincts on that one. For Liberty Precinct, I have 166 yes and 148 no. So that's going to be right here. And that one was an interesting one because the audit's done by hand. We did have 1 ballot on that was a no vote that was not counted by the machine. And when we looked at it, it was because instead of filling in the oval next to the name, they filled in the O on no. So in that, if we can determine the voter intent by looking at it, we can count it. And the board looked at that and decided that's who the voter probably intended to vote for there. So we recorded that as a no vote. And then we also did South Lincoln on that one. And I have 78 yes and 101 no. So with that, if you guys are satisfied on those results, I think we should probably have a motion to approve or accept the results of the audit.
I'm good with it. You guys good with it? I'll make a motion that we accept the results of this audit.
Second.
Motion been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that takes care of the audit that's been done. Next thing I have 98 provisional ballots. So I want to talk about provisionals a little bit. We've gone through, reviewed all of these. They are all still sealed in the envelopes that were filled out by the voter. And we go through and look at those envelopes without opening them to determine if those ballots should count or not. What I came up with looking through there is we have 53 ballots that I believe should count. Most of them were address changes, 41 of them. 6 of them were name change. 5 were either poll worker or election office error. And 1 who voted at the poll that had received an advance ballot but did not return the advance ballot. So all those would be reasons that we can count those provisional ballots.
So they had requested an advance ballot?
Yeah, we
That's
had
the only way
mailed.
you can get them, right?
Yeah, that we had mailed one out to them, but they never returned it, and then they showed up at the poll to vote. So as long as they didn't return that original one we mailed out, we can count the one at the polls, and they did not return the original. We log all those in the system as they come in. We reviewed that, and that ballot never came back. And as for the poll worker or election office error, that would be things like, in most cases, someone who shouldn't have voted provisional, but like the poll workers didn't find them in the poll book. We had one that was an error in our office. We had entered someone incorrectly, so it didn't show up. But then when we went back and reviewed, we were able to look at their registration and saw that it was our fault that it was in there that way. So this will correct it because they had to fill out a new registration card. The next group I have 17 ballots that I believe should be partially counted. And 2 of those would be ballots that are the wrong party, which would be someone who insisted on voting Republican or Democrat, but they were registered the other way. So the only thing that we'll be able to count on that is the constitutional amendment, because everything else on the ballot was just for that party. And then I have 15 that I was showing in the system were not affiliated with the party. And in order to vote at the primary and vote a Republican or Democrat ballot, they have to affiliate. And we did not find a record of them affiliating. So again, the only thing we'd be able to count would be the constitutional amendment. The exception to that would be when we open those envelopes. If we find a party affiliation shoved in there with the ballot, then we'd be able to count. So those I'm going to recommend that we partially count, which will be hand count on that. And I'll have people over there to do that today. And then the remaining 28 ballots, I'm recommending that we do not count. 25 of those, when we went through our books, were not registered to vote. One of them did not provide photo ID at the polls. In that case, they have to do a provisional. If they would have brought the ID in to me by the time the canvass started, then we could count it, but they did not bring it in. And the remaining 2 were registered in another county and voted here, so we can't count those either. So my recommendation is to not count 28 provisional ballots, count the remaining 70 provisional ballots, provided the correct ballot style is in the envelope. And my note on that would be 53 of the 70 would be fully counted. The remaining 17 may be partially counted depending on the ballot style that's in the provisional envelope. So any questions about that process or the way we've got them labeled? So if the 3 of you are okay with that, I would just need a motion to accept my recommendation on the provisional ballots.
I'll make a motion that we accept David's recommendation on the provisional ballots.
Because of the special elections that may occur, should we go through them again or not?
We can go through however much you'd like to. Just like a review of the reasoning behind it, or?
Yeah, could you just go over that real quick again
Sure.
for the public?
So I have 53 that my recommendation is to fully count the ballot. 41 of those were address changes, 6 of them were name changes, 5 were poll worker or election office errors, and 1 that voted at the polls who had received an advance but did not return the advance ballot. Then I have 17 that I'm recommending a partial count depending on what ballot style is in the envelope. 2 of those appear to be people that were registered with one party and insisted on voting the other party, which is not allowed in a primary. And the other were people that were unaffiliated, and we have not seen any record of a party affiliation unless it is in those envelopes. So my recommendation on those would be just to count the constitutional amendment. And then 28 that I'm recommending that we do not count. 25 of those were not registered to vote. 1 did not provide ID at the polls, and they have not provided it to me by canvass. And 2 that were registered in other counties and voted here.
And on the 17 on the constitutional amendment, the only thing you could count, was there something else on the ballot for Linn Valley that they were voting on a sales tax? Was that on the?
That is on the Linn Valley ballots, and you are correct. If some of those happen to be Linn Valley, then we could also count the sales tax.
Okay. So you made a motion, I'll second it. I'm okay
Motion
with it.
to accept his recommendation. Motion been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, with that, probably the only other thing I really want to touch on before we go over there is write-ins. We had a pile of write-ins on this. We do have a couple of places on the write-ins where there will be enough write-in votes for that person to go on to the general election. For a township clerk, they had to have 3 write-ins to go on to November. The precinct committee people are elected at the primary, but they have to have 5 votes to be elected. And then other races, which for us would be the commission race, they would have to have 5% of the registered voters in that in that district to go on, and we did not have anyone that had 5%. We had a lot of fictitious names. You know, we had the Mickey Mouse and the Donald Duck things, stuff like that. We had various ones where there were different spellings of the same name, but our write-in boards looked at them and considered that that would be the same person they were talking about. They just didn't know how to spell the name. So we combined those for one person when we found records like that. Without looking back at that, I don't remember who all of them were, but we do have,
Was it on here? I thought it just had.
we do have two or three
yeah,
that
you
are
do have
going to
them.
get enough votes to go on. So yeah, the commission race, I had 2 people that received 2 votes, several people that received 1. Well, 2 votes is not 5% of the registered, in this case, Democrats in that district. So there's not enough to go on to the general. We get down to, okay, here's a good example on one. Wanda Whitcomb received 15 write-in votes for clerk of Centerville Township. That was more than anyone else received, so she will go on the ballot for Centerville Township clerk. Charla Holt received votes on the Democratic and Republican sides for Township Clerk of Liberty. I have already talked to Charla, told her that she's received enough votes to get the nomination from both parties. She is registered as a Democrat, so she's going to send me a letter declining the Republican nomination, but then she'll go on the ballot as the Democratic nominee for that one. Let's see what else we got here. In Valley Township, no one ran for township clerk. However, Tom Patterson received 5 votes, so that's enough to go on the ballot for township clerk. There's another one of Charlotte's on this one. She's got 12. None of these were enough. Larry Holt received enough for the Republican nomination for Mound City Township Clerk.
Do you have to call them and ask if they're even interested?
I'll send them a nomination certificate along with a letter saying you've received enough votes to be the nominee. If you wish to withdraw your nomination, you have to send it to me in writing within 10 days of the canvass. So we'll let them know that way. And in the case of like Larry, he's actually registered as a Democrat, but he received the Republican nomination. However, he can be the Republican candidate even though he's registered as a Democrat because he received enough votes. That's clerk. Joyce Hazelbaker, it appears, received enough to be the nominee for township clerk in Potosi. Precinct committee woman in South Potosi, Robin Spencer, received 8 votes, so that is enough to be elected to that office. Brian Bloomfield received 3 votes for township clerk in Sheridan, so that's enough to go on to that general election race. And I believe that's it on the ones that received enough votes to either win an election or go on to the general.
So that's the same for like the state. Do they have to receive as a write-in? How many they have to?
The state's got the rules on that, and I will report write-ins to them, but it's a much higher number that they have to have on that. So we won't know until the state canvass if anybody got enough write-ins for state offices. So if you're okay with the way we handled those things, the next thing we need to do is go over, open these envelopes, run them through the scanner, And then I'll have a board over there that will review the partial counts and start a hand count process on that. So any other questions or anything else you'd like to see?
Not me.
All right, well, with that, then let's go over to my office or to the back room over there and we'll run these things through.
Hey Ryan, this is Danny Nicole with Mid-City Administration. I got your voicemail this morning. I think there's a mix-up, and I wasn't supposed to be doing it until tomorrow. Mondays, there's always conflicts to me. So, yeah, the meeting was, my calendar scheduled.
I think it, no, it was, but I think we got certified later.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll be here because Jessica's gonna present. All right.
Yeah.
We got Sean, but I think he's probably next, right?
Yep.
You gotta wait till Davey gets in here.
Derek, come back in. We need one more motion on this before we get back into the regular meeting. So right now, I would just need a motion to approve the election abstract and adjourn the Board of Canvassers meeting and reconvene as the Board of Commission.
That's my motion.
I'll second. Motion been moved, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks, Darren.
Thank you, Darren.
All right, Morgan's gonna bring the printout of that over when it gets done, so you guys can sign off on that. And then say we'll plan on Friday morning to do the canvas of just the one race, and I'll try to have the abstract ready for you guys to sign then. Okay. I'm ready now.
Sean West, Public Works Administrator. I handed you the July task list from Joyce. Also handed you a document from K-Works. This is the inspection they did for our buildings. You'll notice that there are a few failure items on there. Most of those are correctable failure items, and most of them have either been corrected or in the process of being corrected. I think the largest ones were, we had some wooden step ladders that needed to be removed from some buildings. we had extension cords plugged in. There were a couple things that were a little more serious in my mind, some electrical covers that needed replaced in a few shops. And also, they noted that we needed to do a better job in our vehicles and in our buildings for our checking off monthly on our fire extinguishers. But for the most part, most of the failure items were routine and correctable on the spot.
Who has to check those fire extinguishers?
I'm sorry?
We have to have a competent person do the fire extinguishers, or who does?
The employee checks off once a month, and then every so often Centos, the agency, will come by and do them. But what they were missing was the employee going by and doing the monthly check off.
We're
Hard.
working on getting that away from Centos and us doing it, right?
That was something I know that has been discussed multiple times with emergency management or fire about the training and the classes and trying to get away from it because it is a very expensive
Right.
process. Okay.
Is the same thing going on the maintenance on the trucks and stuff like that and the equipment? Or do you think it's actually, are we getting it done?
Yes.
Okay.
These are just a failure to initial off that they've checked and made sure that they've got a fully charged fire extinguisher on board the vehicle.
Do they have like daily sheets they have to fill out or something?
We have daily task sheets that go into Public Works. Either they do it on a tablet or they turn it in and it's entered into Public Works.
I got you.
Okay. By Friday, the electrical will be done at the Pleasanton site for the fuel tanks, and then we will contact the provider on that and get those. Those are expected to be in a couple of weeks after we tell them that we're ready for those tanks. And I did have a note on here to check with you now that we've got folks moved out of the old district court about when we wanted to set up a walkthrough of that building so we could get started looking at the storage areas or the needs over there.
So as soon as David's done with the election stuff and can breathe, that's kind of what we decided, I think, right?
Maybe next week sometime.
So if you'll send out an email, I'll just wait on you to be ready to do that, and we'll get a hold of everyone and do the walkthrough with it. We have the tire bids. We had multiple bids on the tires. It's coming down to pretty much who can get what. It's the supply chain's going to dictate a lot of this, but we were able to, with Jeremy, look at these bids, and some of the bids were up on the road grader tires were up to $500 or $600 more a tire than the bid that we looked at. He did contact the supplier on these and was assured that they had a 6 to 8 week delivery, and he's trying to see if that changes and we can get them any sooner than that. But they are able to get the quantity and the sizes that we need. So I'm asking that we approve a bid for Colon for $14,875.84. And that is for 2 sets of 8 on equipment tires and looks like 4 on, I believe, ADR 22.5.
What's that price again?
$14,875.84. And there's the rest of the bids if you'd like to look through it.
And that, I know that Rick or somebody had asked you to reach out to the other departments in the county, and that's not just for road, that's for anybody that was needing tires, right?
They were reached out to and nobody responded with any need at this time, although with tires, that can change, pretty rapidly. But yes, we did reach out and we didn't get any response back from any other departments needing any at this time.
The one you handed me, this one right here, is the one you want, right?
That's correct.
And And they have these available within 6 to 8 weeks.
That's correct.
Goodyear gave you a quote. So who was this quote from? Colin?
Yes.
Colin Tire. Let's just go through do it the way we're supposed to. Colin Tire gave a price of $14,875.84, and that included a $75 delivery charge. Goodyear, you got a quote from them. Is that from the Goodyear Commercial Tire in Fairfax? And they gave you a quote for $16,701.08. Kansas Land gave you a quote for $19,374.28. And was that it? That was the three. Am I doing something wrong? Okay.
Sean, can I get a list of all those bids?
Yes.
Okay.
Come show me the others. Here they are. And then the rest were individuals. Is that what it was? And this was for all the ones you wanted, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And that's Kansas Land was for all the ones you wanted.
That's correct.
And then Goodyear quote was for all the ones you wanted.
Correct.
Okay, out of those three, the least expensive was the one you recommended, Colin, at $14,875.84. That's my recommendation, that we buy those tires, purchase those tires from that individual company. So,
Together, and then this one didn't give us a total, they broke it out by.
okay,
Is that your motion or your?
that's my motion.
All right, I'll second that. Motion's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Sean, I got a question on this.
Sure.
Report. On trash pickup, on the back page, it says, what all does that include? Does that include taking trash from each compactor to the landfill? It's a pretty big number.
I'll have to ask Joyce about that, but I assume that's for picking up at each site and going back to the landfill, and the roll-offs that we pick up at different sites and bringing back to the landfill. Now, if it encompasses the trips down or anything else, I'd have to find that out.
The trash pickup would be all of the solid waste trash pickup, plus it includes, if the county employees are going out, checking roads.
That's what I was wondering. Okay.
That's included in that.
Okay.
Thanks, Joyce.
Airport, we met with the folks to adjust the fuel to 625 as we'd spoke before about it, and found out that we have a refurbished machine that can only go up to $5.99 or just below $6 a gallon. So we've ordered the parts to correct that, and they should be in shortly so that we can adjust that machine to a higher level than what we apparently expected when we purchased that refurbished machine.
Okay.
We're moving an open top over to the old sheriff's department for them. Already updated you on the power at Pleasanton, noxious weeds. Johnny says they're still working on the Johnson grass infestations, both reported and observed. The reported ones that will get sprayed this week are 1500 Road, east of 7 Highway, Irwin, north of 1000. Also, areas that they've observed are 1000 from Tucker to State Line, Tucker from 52 past 700 to the dead end, 95 from 152 to Miami County line. They also spot sprayed this week on several areas for Johnson grass, Polly from 14 to 1350, Ferris from 4 to 300, East 1050 from Scott to Ash, 1000 from Scott to Ash, Query from Grand to 2400 and 1077 from 546 to Market Street. They've also completed service requests for weed eating and bare ground spraying at the Judicial Center. Looking ahead to August, they're planning on spending most of their time on cleaning up guardrails, culverts, and whistles, doing bare ground with chemicals and trying to get ahead of that. Also, we anticipate moving Carl back over to the scale house probably the beginning of October, going through March. At that time, Carl and Johnny both plan to take even more time than what they have so far and finishing up their studying for the insecticide exam. Both of them are currently scheduled to take that exam in November.
I had a phone call over the pest stuff. I gave them your phone number. Did anyone get a hold of you about that?
I have not.
I think there's a lot of confusion in it. We can talk later, but I gave a guy your phone number and told him to call you about it. So
I have not been contacted yet that I'm aware of. Let's see. This week, we will begin Cdl Training. That's the program that we did in the past here locally, that we will continue to do here locally, but the new federal requirements are requiring us to report online, and we had to basically get approved as a training site, also approve an administrator for the site, and then get compliance and training that would be approved. After that, we are now set up so that once we do the training, we can enter it in on that site, and the drivers will be accepted by their testers when they go in. They will check it, make sure that they've had the training before they're allowed to take the test. So that'll start this week, and we've got one individual that will start that training with Kevin Amer this week.
So are we only doing our employees? I think somebody asked this before. Or are we able to include other counties, or?
We are able to do others, but I have not listed us publicly until we get through the first several trainings and find out until we get through the process several times. I'm not comfortable with training outside employees at this point. But yes, we and other counties, I've been in contact with Bourbon County several times. They're setting up the same program. Theoretically, if they or someone had someone that needed training, instead of setting up individual trainings, theoretically, yes, we could join with other counties and try to train people in that process to make it easier on the counties. But I think that's something that everybody's looking a little further down the road to make sure we've got everything ironed out before we get involved in. The last part of the documents that I gave you was from Darren. This is the policy letter that's been readjusted. There hasn't been a lot of large changes, but it's changed in the fashion that he and I spoke to you about. He also sent it to Gary Thompson, and Gary looked over it, and my understanding, Gary agreed.
So what's changed? I mean, it's not highlighted in red, so what's changed?
I would have to call Darren in to have him do that. I cannot answer those questions. But I believe it's just some small verbiage on the regulatory side of it.
Darren, come on up here, please. So this is not highlighted in red, what's to propose change, so I know you want us to sign this. What's changed?
So the only thing that I changed was on the sanitation part, that they go and make, because the phone calls that I get they assume people don't have a holding tank.
Where's this at? 6754, where?
In the back part, on the back page where it says the county will only step in when there's a sewer related violation after confirmation of a leak, dumping sewage on the ground, or no holding tank present. That's the only thing that I've added.
who's going to confirm that it was a leak? Or,
Well,
Something.
if they go out
so
and
they're,
if somebody complains to the HOA, instead of calling us to go look, they need to go look and make sure whether
okay,
the
so
grounds.
so the HOA needs to hold themselves accountable first.
Yes,
Okay. Not just a phone call from the neighbor who,
right.
okay.
Right.
Gary's looked over all this.
Yeah, Gary gave it approval this morning.
Okay, so Jim's not here, so I'd like to not do this today. Do you need
Okay.
it today?
Sugar Valley's HOA board meetings Thursday night.
You could tell them, you could send them the copy of this and say with anticipation. I don't have a problem with it, but Jim's not here and it's going to be in the county as a policy. So I'd rather have his
Sure.
input and vote on that if that's
Okay.
okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. But thanks for clearing that up.
And that's all I had for you today, unless you have any questions for me.
No, I don't. You?
I believe so. I was gonna ask Jessica about the airport. But Jessica, you're coming up to talk anyway, aren't you?
Well, all I have today is the comprehensive plan at 11. What are your
I was just
questions?
gonna ask, I know we talked about a development plan, and I think it's sent out for buying some on it.
Yeah, so the out of cycle grant that I applied for was not approved. So I'm going to submit that same application for that same project again in September, which is when they usually accept applications for that grant. I've spoken with the lady at the state who runs that program. She's good with me just applying again in September.
Is your board is your airport board, you guys pretty active and everybody's on board? And
They decided to not meet again until we know about that grant. So I talked to them, it was email communication quite a bit, but we haven't met.
What's the overall, did you have a meeting? When was your last comprehensive meeting with the public? Didn't they come in last week or before?
Yeah, the open house, the public hearing was
So
last Tuesday night.
Are you wanting us to approve this plan today? Because it's not going to happen
Okay,
because Jim's not here and it's a plan that's going to go forever. I mean, it's going to go for so long. He needs to be here to see that. And
that's fine.
Unfortunately,
We're
it's
still,
not.
Jennifer's on the way, so we'll still talk about it at 11, because she'll be here if you have any questions for her.
Okay.
But if you need to take a couple of weeks and read it, that's fine.
I don't need to. I've read it, and but I don't want to
We don't want to leave Jim out either, no.
because he's going to be here, and it's a long-term plan up till 42, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
so, and then the cover for the tent, we got that taken care of, didn't we?
I've got it ordered. I don't have an estimated arrival date yet.
That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We need to do an executive session for personnel that we're talking probably 20, 25 minutes. So
Do it.
I'll give you a couple of updates before we get into that. Morgan's got the printout from the machine for you guys to sign off on. This is what the ballots we were in.
Do we need to bring Darren back in here for that?
She grabbed him and he signed. This is the write-in report that prints out of the machine.
Okay.
There was only one write-in, and that was for Rosemary Long, but it was on a Democratic ballot, so it's not going to count for anything. So we will get all that ready. Couple other things on emails I just received. Have an email from Kathy, the appraiser, that she also emailed to all of you, but she did get their notice of procedural compliance that she talked about last week. And everything passed on that. She listed 3 different sections: land valuation, depreciation analysis, and final review. In those areas last year, said that we received an N for no on out of compliance.
Right.
And now we are in compliance in all those areas. So the only thing was the residential ratio that she talked about last week. So definitely an improvement. We're looking better on that.
Right.
The other thing is concerning the election and the recount. We just got an email from the Secretary of State's office, and I'll just kind of read through some of this to let you know what's going on. At this time, sufficient bond has not been posted. This is for the recount on the amendment. And a deadline of 5 PM today has been given to the person making the recount request. Says, as a reminder, do not begin work on this recount until you've received notice from me. I will not be able to reimburse you for any work prior to the recount if the recount is canceled. And he kind of goes through the timeline of everything. So as it stands right now, we are on hold for a recount to wait and see if they get the money put up by 5 o'clock today. He also lists in here that the amount that the state has determined for this recount is $229,334.35. So they've got to either put up that money or some type of bond by 5 o'clock today to proceed. So we may or may not be recounting tomorrow, but we probably won't know until late today or this evening.
Okay.
And it sounds like there is still a chance that they could put up part of it and do a partial in certain areas, but anyway, I'm not gonna know till tonight. That's what
Okay.
All right, with that, are we ready for the executive session?
Yep.
So and we've got 21 until she's, you think we can do it in 20 minutes? We'll go with 20 minutes on.
Make a motion, we go into executive session for personnel for 20 minutes.
I'll second. Motion been second. All in favor?
Aye.
Let's try it. We'll try 20 and see what happens anyway.
Do we need Gary or anything? Come back down.
Shouldn't.
We had no action from executive session. And Jessica, you want to come up, and we're scheduled now to talk about the comprehensive plan update, so.
Yes. I gave you both the final draft this morning of the comprehensive plan. It was presented last Tuesday night to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we had a public hearing. We had 11 people come to the meeting. A few spoke, yes.
How many?
11
11.
members of the public come to the public hearing. A few spoke, all were in support of the plan. And I have the action taken by the commission, by the planning commission, was to approve, well, I guess, recommend that you approve the plan as written, and it was a 6-0 vote.
Awesome.
What would, are we going to talk about it, or
We can talk about it.
what was the biggest, what was the biggest change with this from the old one? Is there?
Honestly, I don't really know how to answer that, Danny. We rewrote the whole thing. We got over 500 surveys back from members of the public to inform this plan. We wrote our goals and objectives based on that input. We held four public meetings that had good attendance every time, and then we had the public hearing.
We had a board put together too.
We did. Yes. Their names are listed in the plan here on the page
So
4.
that's pretty much how we got to where we are right now on this, right? Is all that.
Yes.
So how did planning and zoning come around on this whole thing? Because I know they were a little.
They did. We held 2 workshops just with Darren and I and the Planning and Zoning Commission to try and get any feedback or questions they had. And then we had another one with Jennifer to address their questions or feedback. They were very receptive. They were pleased with that the changes that they suggested were incorporated. There were a few, not very many. Mostly moving some things to different areas that they thought would be more appropriate.
Can we talk to Jennifer? Jennifer,
Yeah.
can you come up, please?
Sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Jennifer Reinhardt with IBTS, been working with county staff for goodness, over a year now.
Yeah, I know. Taking a long time to get to where we're at, and we're happy about it. So overall, how did you see the process go? You think it was productive as far as community input and the boards that you guys set up for that? Overall, do you think they come up with a reasonable and good plan to go by?
I do, and I did want to make a comment about the really committed level of engagement with the Citizens Steering Committee and the Planning Commissioners. I said everyone was really involved with the contents of the plan and in making sure that it was reflective of the community, and we got really robust engagement. And all of the engagement is in the appendices to really support what's in the details in the plan. I think personally, can't speak for county staff, but I'm really pleased with the moments we had to get feedback and interaction with some of the ideas that really through the process, we changed some things. We refined some of the language, some of what was included, what was taken out, how it was organized, some of the emphasis on organization, on accountability, all of that came through the process. So I feel like this is very reflective of Linn County residents, staff, and leaders that participated in this process.
And like you look on page 26, I know you have the book
Yeah.
probably. And it talks about rural housing incentives and
Yeah.
accessory dwellings. Obviously, there's new housing that is needed because they haven't big projects or even many small projects for new housing hasn't been developed in any of the towns, except with the exception of Linn Valley, who's just prospering up and building up quickly. Pleasanton's down.
We have
Population wise, the populations went down, and I know that was probably addressed as well. So what was some of the, just real, you don't have to go over too much, but some of the thoughts on housing? What was some of their thoughts? Because we're on
Yeah.
camera.
Oh,
Some of the, you didn't know that?
well, hello.
Yeah, so some of the thoughts on housing, that's probably
Yeah.
very important to the public to know that up in Lacine, there's been no real housing other than maybe one or two in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
There hasn't been any.
Yeah, no, I think housing from the beginning was a huge priority that was identified. I think with availability, as you say, affordability, and then also having more options. So especially as community members age, there's options for them to stay within the county. So that's where that ADU conversation came about, was ways to easily, with the current kind of way things are in Linn County, to allow for this different ADU options. But I think for the county to start, a lot of the conversation was looking how housing connected to the other sections of the plan. So how broadband internet would help want people to come here, to have to start businesses, to be able to work from home, to education. So I think with housing, it was a way for the county to incentivize quality of life, and housing as a piece of that. And so some of this plan with the RHID districts, or kind of coming up with other programs for the county to encourage new housing. Also, though, to pay attention to existing housing, helping people with home repairs. That was a big thing with the conditions of homes. So I think it wasn't just new housing, it was also existing housing and ways for people who already live here to find housing that meets their needs.
So while you're going through this housing portion of it, was the cities, any of the people from the cities, that the city council or any of them, I mean, they play the biggest part in Lacine or Pleasanton. Is you can put all these plans together, but they have to be willing and wanting to participate as well. Were they in on it?
We had some council members.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And lake communities too. That was a big conversation.
Tried to make sure we got input.
And then I noticed on page 33, because I did go through it a couple of weeks ago, or a little over a week ago, and on the opportunities map, I see the different categories. So, like, why did you come up with what you did on that?
Yeah, so with the opportunities map, that's a good complement to the future land use map. So the future land use map, has these categories, but the opportunities map was more kind of conceptual to help guide development decisions. So you can see with the dotted blue lines, those were strategic corridors or strategic areas, whether it's to have industry or tourism or look at the natural resources. It tried to identify different areas that's not as rigid as the future land map, but that could, in the next 10, 20 years, kind of guide kind of strategic, different strategies for development that is more specific to the area. So Tanglewood Lake would be different than, around Lacine, and the county would have the discretion and, the expertise to decide what that looks like. But it does kind of, it's a broader conceptual framework to help guide those conversations and visualize at a county level where some of this different development could happen. But it complements the future land use map.
Right. And then, so you got the big blue spots on 3 of the major cities, not Lynn Valley.
Right.
And it says buildings on momentum to strengthen the downtown and vibrant mixed use areas that supports life. So how does that play in with the actual cities themselves? What input did they have on it?
Well, and that's a great question because it goes into a big conversation, which was how the county can support the cities. And we spent a lot of time talking about, the role of county and not overstepping, especially with cities, but to work together. And so with these blue dots, and so Linn Valley, I think in creating this, since they're a very specific lake community without, a downtown core, that was why kind of it was more of a focused growth instead of that downtown strengthening. But the idea is, the cities, they're going to have a lot of ownership of what happens in their downtown. But, the idea is to strengthen the bonds with the county because what benefits, these downtown areas would benefit the county as a whole.
Okay. And do you see, with this is a good strategic plan to go by for the next, 10 or 20 years, whatever we got it set out for?
I think so. And what I might recommend, because who knows what the future holds. Maybe in 5 years, along 69, there could be, tons of stuff happening. So this could be amended, as the nature changes or as stuff gets added. So I think for right now, I think it's a great starting point. But then, in 20 years, this could look very different.
All right. So it's a good working document, that's for sure.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to thank you for all the work that everybody's done on it. And I know we're going to wait till Jim is here next week to vote it in, but I don't have any problems with it. And there may be some more questions that we ask Jessica next week.
Thank you. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look it over completely, so I'm going to take a look at it. But I do have a few questions for Jessica. So on page 15, we have these objectives. So it says, it talks about internet and then improving access to the drinking water and some then the roads. We've already done the the high-speed internet broadband. So,
We've started that.
Well,
I
yeah,
think there's
we're-
much more work we
right,
can do
I
in
mean,
that area.
we're trying to tackle it, but so like on the second and third objectives, would that be something we should focus the ARPA funds on to try to
We
do
can.
something about that?
Yep. So this document will kind of guide how we spend our funds, where we focus our time in the future. So yes, we can use that, and then we can use ARPA funds for these objectives and use this document to justify that.
And for future possible grants. too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Danny, now that I've had just a minute to think about your question about what's different between the two plans, I think the main difference is that we have goals and objectives in this document that are clearly stated that we can work towards. I don't think that the other plan had that. And I'm really excited about the goals and the objectives that we were able to come out with this plan, because it really gives us, as a county, something to work towards.
So, as far as this is kind of a guideline for the county, the workers and agencies to go towards.
Yep.
What about the community? Is there something we can provide to them, like what our objective is? Is there a more dense plan that talks about, hey, this is what our motto is, this is where our goals are, this is what we want to do, this is what we,
Well,
is there anything like that?
this is our plan.
I know, but can we provide this entire to the
Anybody
public?
can have it. We're going to have it on
Online,
the
right?
website. And if somebody can't access it online, they can come in here. I'll
Do
print
we
a
have any
copy.
other way, are we gonna really push this out to the community then, the whole plan? Or just when they ask, or?
Well, it'll be online, so they can access it at any point. We can print it out for anybody who wants it. I guess do you have something in mind?
That's how we're gonna implement it to the best to utilize it.
I envision us talking about this quite a bit. We're going to, we've got it written in here for implementation. It'll come before the Planning and Zoning Committee to make sure that we're following goals and working towards those. So, I see it coming up.
And that was never addressed over the years from the last plan, because it probably wasn't the best plan in the world, if there was even a plan. So I would ask that you, being in your position, to make sure you set that up for whatever you see necessary, once a month, once a quarter, so it doesn't just
Well, it's written in
go
here.
away.
I think it is in the towards the end of the plan. I think it comes before the Planning and Zoning once a year, maybe. So just to do kind of a checkup, and then I think every 5 years we'll have a formal.
And are you going to try to keep together any committee members to, if you have a new project coming up, that you could run it past them or anything like that?
We can.
I'm just asking if that's something you think would be beneficial.
So I think state statute says that that the planning and zoning committee kind of oversees this plan.
Okay.
So they will be the one,
They can have a subcommittee though,
yes, they could, absolutely.
just appoint somebody and get a group of people that.
Yep.
Especially if you have especially if you have a grant that's possibly coming up or something,
Absolutely.
a project that,
And they've been, the planning and zoning committee have been great. They've been really supportive, and all of their questions or concerns that they had have been really well thought out. So, I'm sure going forward that will continue to be the case, that they'll
Yeah,
be
or
supportive
some-
in whatever we need.
Yeah, especially if some regulation comes out.
Yes,
Preventing us from stopping something.
right.
It's like, like if we pull or if somebody comes in to get a building permit, is this something that we can just shove in with the building permit and say, hey, this is our plan for the county? I mean, just to keep pushing it along.
So, let's say that again.
Like if somebody comes in and wants a building permit, we just don't sign a building permit. I mean, yeah, we do, but then we give them our comprehensive plan of what our, about our county. Can we provide that with every building permit that we approve? Or does that make sense or not?
Yeah, we can.
I would almost think, due to the size of this,
I was gonna say.
pages, maybe we could have a page of information that says, if you're interested, here's where
Yeah.
you can go and look at the comprehensive plan, instead of handing them a whole copy of it.
The last thing I want to see is that, and I don't think it's going to happen, but maybe just go on the shelf and not be utilized.
No, we don't want that to happen either.
So I was just trying to think of ways to implement it. And I mean, because, that's just really where I'm at on it. So.
Yes.
I don't have any questions about it. I read it. It looks great. I'm sure there's always going to be questions. I just want Jen to be here
No, I understand that.
and to vote it in. And he may have questions that we never even thought of. So,
That's fine.
yeah.
Are these very back pages?
That's the appendices. So those are the answers to the survey questions that we sent out.
Don't sell the lake to pay for jail.
Do
That's
what?
what somebody said. Don't sell the lake to pay for the jail.
Some of the answers weren't necessarily county related. I believe that one was aimed at a city issue. But we did include them. We thought they were important.
No, that's,
Okay.
no, thanks to everybody that put all the time and effort in.
There was a lot of
And
time.
we appreciate committee members. We appreciate all the public that gave their input to help shape this document. It was very important to us that we had so many people
Make sure
interested.
you invite them to our Christmas party as well,
The committee members.
please.
Yes.
You have good bonuses this year, huh? I expect.
Morgan's cooking.
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
I no, thanks for all your efforts too.
Thank you.
Sometimes you don't get thanked enough, but thank you.
Appreciate it. Do you have anything else for me while I'm here?
Jennifer, thanks for coming all the way down.
No.
Go get us some good grants.
So would you like Jennifer to come back next week, or
We don't, we're just going to vote it in. I mean,
Did
I
Jim
don't-
ask a question? Can we call you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll even stand by.
He's probably listening too, so.
right?
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have anything else. Like I say, I probably am gonna find out after 5 o'clock tonight on the recount, whether it's a go or not. I'll probably just try to send you guys a text and or an email, let you know. And that'll make a difference on whether or not we need to meet Friday morning.
Joe? I don't have anything. You?
No, it says you're buying lunch. It's the last thing on here.
It does say that. I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
I'll second. Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.